Hello and welcome to the podcast. I am excited. I went from not having an intro in mind last week to having like three different ones this week. I am Rooster Teeth's new shitty logo, Mediocrity 4.
It is I, high powered, just back from getting hair extensions and salt and pepper highlights. It's me, high powered, in his punished high powered arc.
If I cut out randomly, it's just because I'm trying to avoid highway patrol. Phone posting as usual this season. It's dude.
If I cut out randomly because I'm in the middle of getting my hair extended and colored salt and pepper so that it can match my currently grown beard for my punished highway patrol incarceration arc, uh, then you should know that that's because I'm not actually doing any of those things. I'm Coop.
This is the most excited I've been for Ruby. I said as much on the YouTube community page and on Discord. And I don't think I think I refrained from talking about it on Twitter, but I was really tempted to actually talk about it on Twitter, and I don't do that with Ruby anymore. That's how excited I was. This is the best episode of the volume so far, in my opinion, and it is up there with some of the best episodes in Ruby for now. Obviously, hindsight is 2020. Stuff could happen later in this volume or next volume or whatever that sours this episode a bit. Who knows? But yeah. Well, what are your guys' broad thoughts?
Well, I
I'll
mean,
just say this. We're gonna go from butt to tip on this one. You know a reveal is good whenever you know what the reveal is, but you still get excited for said reveal whenever the reveal happens.
Oh
That's
yeah.
what we got in this episode.
Well, yeah, we've been saying that the rusted knight was Jean since we saw the first images of the rusted knight. Uh, I want to say it was right before this volume came out. I want to say it was when the trailer dropped and we did that kind of like preview podcast. We might have even seen stuff of it beforehand, but ever since we saw that, we were like, "Oh yeah, it'd be neat if that was Jean." And when he came in on the Jackalope and was like, "Oh yeah, rabbits are really important to Jean. That's like what's on his shirt because of Pumpkin Pea, which is also like part of his connection with Pyrrha,
Yeah.
and he's got." He pulled out the broken sword. Like, oh yeah, that's right. Crucia Morris got broken last volume by Cinder, uh, which is also something that happened to Pyrrha sort of in Volume 3 when they fought. Uh, but it's one of those things where, like, you think you're ready for the reveal, like, oh, it's just gonna be Jean. I was not ready for DILF Jaune.
I think part of it too is that it was well done, it was well executed, and it wasn't, at least in this episode, it wasn't like cheesy. It was in a very serious like situation. I think that's better instead of trying to make it silly or anything. Plus, we got a reveal that we did expect, but we also got reveals, one in particular that we did not expect in this episode, and that's huge. And the episode also did something really well that some of the other good Ruby episodes have done, which is the previous episode was also very good, and this one ties in really well with it. And I really hope the next one does it just as well.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I mean it's think I would pick up on what iPowered said about it being like predictable in a good way. I am rather surprised that somebody would among their writing team would finally like just bend to being slightly predictable on something. That's it's kind of
Can I,
out of the
can I
ordinary
say
for
something
them.
wild about this episode?
Was that? What?
This episode was written by Kiersey.
That doesn't actually surprise me, given her background. Because for those of you who
Like
kind
in
of
the
missed
show,
this, Kiersey Burkhart, she joined the writing staff in, I want to say, Volume 7 when she joined, and her background is that she's a YA author. And there is something very like YA, like time traveler's wife, about this reveal. Uh,
Oh
it's really
yeah,
good. It's like a good version of
it's
that, but like it does feel like something that YA author would have come up with rather than the three comedy writers that she works with on this series.
yeah, it's
See,
like
that's
the
strange.
yeah, I was about to say like all the RWBY girls like just became pregnant. But
Yeah, that's more of a YA thing than this. I
but
feel
no, like no, it is definitely. I will say this, like this whole volume is like very YA like theme too. Like I could definitely see like like a YA author just doing like reaches into the hat and it's like, oh hey, let's do a spin off of Alice in Wonderland for my YA novel.
Well, and it goes back to the criticism we had of the first two episodes, which is that like if you're gonna go full topsy turvy with it, go all the way. And now we know that like time is all fucky in this world, and we actually start off with some exposition. Team RWBY have some questions about what happened with the herbalist, uh, and the cat kind of explains like, no, like people in this world they don't die unless they get eaten by the Jabberwocker, but we don't find that out until later in the episode. Uh, when they like get too tired to adequately fulfill their purpose, they basically ascend, which as we saw is actually them falling, which the irony is not lost on me. I wonder if that's purposeful. Where to ascend, you have to fall, sort of like how RWBY has to fall and will have to ascend to get out of here. They will have to ascend up the tree, and end up in the less fantastical world of Remnant by doing so. Uh, and when they ascend, they basically get repaired and lose their memories, but still kind of are
Maybe it's like
affected by
a
the
ship of
experience.
Theseus per se would be a good way to put
Maybe,
it.
maybe
Like
the ship of Theseus thought experiment is supposed to be like a gradual thing, but like the explanation that the cat gives is that like the Red Prince, for instance, his purpose is to win the game no matter what. So when he lost to Alex, he had to ascend, get repaired, was reborn as a kid, and then continued living his life from there. And then Team RWBY met him, and he didn't remember Alex, but he was still kind of like affected by Alex, and like his heart, like I think the line the cat says is the heart
yeah,
doesn't forget,
the
which
heart
is
doesn't
it's a
forget.
really
It's a good line.
it's a really interesting take on reincarnation, way more interesting than the take on reincarnation we've had throughout the rest of the series.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know if it's just because the story's been in the oven for like 2 years. Hell, like the cat even drops a line. Is like, yeah, exposition is really boring, and I feel like he was just talking to the audience and like the reviewers whenever the cat said that, and I'm like, I want to hate you for this line, cat, but I
well,
don't.
also with the reincarnation thing they've talked about, I went back and again, this episode was so good it made me go back and watch episodes 4 and 5 again, and I enjoyed it. It was worth it. It was worth my time to do that. I never do that with this show anymore. I haven't done that in God years. Um, anyway, I went back and watched episode 4 and 5 again, and I noticed that there was a subtle like hint that we didn't. I don't think we talked about last week. I think it was in or no, beginning of episode 5 that links in episode 4, which was the cat said to Ruby, or to all of them, the girls, I'm glad you're still who you were before, or something like that. Meaning that Ruby, if he hadn't saved Ruby from the herbalist, I think she might have changed, or something would have
Yeah.
happened to her.
We did posit that theory about Jaune last week, where we posited the theory that he may have wound up at the herbalist's shack, and then that's what turned him into the Rusted Knight, which could still be the case. We don't really know. We're assuming that Jaune has been there all this time.
He did.
I think that would be the more interesting story, is if time is just that kind of is just wonky
That
like
fucked
that,
up. Yeah.
and Jaune has lived all this time. But you know it's playing fast and loose with its rules, and it's being very in our face about how fast and loose it is with its rules, and that's like an old fairy tale thing, where one of the reasons why you don't have like these long-winded explanations in classic fairy tales and even classic fantasy that wouldn't be considered fairy tales is because a lot of that stuff was considered just the way the world works. You know, like Homer didn't have to go on these large tangents about why we never see Cyclopses, because he was just assuming that Cyclopses actually exist.
Well, and also too, we got to thank Homer in the Iliad for like beating up all the harpies and the cyclopses and all those other creatures and sending them over to Central America. That's something that's something I can take. That's something anyone should be able to take pride in, is the martial might of that man beating up all those demons.
Well, except that Homer wasn't a real person, but
He's real to
debatable.
me, okay?
Thank all the Greek poets that put that
Homer
shit
wasn't
together.
real, but everything else about that story was.
Well, I mean, and that's making me appreciate this volume more is as it goes on. It's branching out from the whole Alice in Wonderland thing more and more as it goes.
yes.
Well,
So
I think they were definitely smart in doing it to where like they were slowly like adding in more and more off, like branching out from Alice in Wonderland over time. Because if they did it like all at once, I have a feeling it probably wouldn't land as well. But like we're getting like, we're getting, if this is like a 10-course meal, and we allowed to have our time. We can oh yes, this piece of salmon fillet with all this garnish that's like the size of like a silver dollar is absolutely stunning, and the wine pairing is exquisite, and it was served on a slightly burnt plank with a decorative like newspaper clippings attached to it. Like that, like we go to one of those types of restaurants.
I still feel like I would have preferred not the Alice in Wonderland thing, because they could have done a lot of the same creative stuff with an even more creative backdrop. But in fairness, if we get a good arc out of it because they kind of skimped on the creativity in terms of the world and use that time and effort and energy into writing a good arc, I will take that, especially for this show. But I still stand by I'd prefer to not have that, because the coolest stuff is the stuff that's the least like Alice in Wonderland. Like the herbalist is not actually like the caterpillar at all.
Yeah.
And the armorer was my favorite part of this whole episode. That was not something from Alice in Wonderland.
God, I am in love with that design.
You could talk like for an hour about all the subtle shit that's going on with the whole armorer bit with Ruby. It's perfect. Like that's such a good scene.
I didn't even make the connection that it was Summer's weapon at first and that it was Summer. That was fucking wild. It was a good scene even before I realized that. It's like I knew it was important, then I went back and watched it again knowing who it was, and I was like, holy shit.
I mean, that does kind of like bring me into the thought that it's like Is she actually, did she actually just wind up here somehow? Is she dead and this is actually the afterlife and that's why nobody dies here except via like one really weird means? Like what's the deal with this place? What it, it kind of, I feel like the problem with that is that they are trying to kind of link it back in when they shouldn't. They should have just left it own as its own segmented world and not tried to make it a part of their universe in any way at this point, so late
Well,
in the game.
well, we don't
Like,
know if the armor is even part of this world or if it's something that else that's like infecting it, or we don't really know what happened there.
Yeah, because I just assume like it's all inside of like Ruby's mind, which
Yeah.
her mom's weapon showing up in that scene makes sense because she probably like at least like saw it
maybe,
growing
I don't
up,
know.
or at
Well,
least
yeah, I mean,
like
she would have seen at least like pictures of it or whatever.
oh yeah, like there's no way Ruby doesn't know what her mom's weapon looks like, and then you got to remember too during that scene, like first she has Penny's sword in her hand, and then it goes to Alex's dagger, and then she's looking at her mom's like halberd axe thing, which like fits, of like the theming of like oh it's her mom, and then her weapon too. Um, well, like the thing that's kind of coming to my mind right now is I want to like a part of me is thinking it's like Ruby never lost her weapon. It's like it's just like a mental block, if that makes sense. Like if she wants her weapon back, like she's just gonna like will it back into existence and it'll like come back to her because the armor lady's like, no, nothing's ever lost. And I mean, that's some like that's a little bit of like huffing on your own fart sort of stuff. Like, oh, this person died or whatever, but they're no one's ever truly gone. So
Yeah, they do have that line, which they give me fucking Rise of Skywalker PTSD flashbacks. But so yeah, so because at the start of that scene, the cat is like, I'll collect all these ingredients, but the whatever the fuck, they're only in this one specific stall. So y'all go do that, and Ruby's like, I can do that myself. After like Weiss, Blake, and Yang, uh, decide to make sure that the cat doesn't get distracted. So then it's just Ruby and Little, and let me in the words of High Power, to hit my crack pipe, I think Little might be Crescent Rose.
oh fuck.
Ooh, that's a good crack pipe theory. That's a
Oh
great
man. That's good.
Because it's just
It's pretty
so
cracked
weird
out.
that Little keeps, like, being all hyped up, but then keeps passing out right as, like, all this trippy, like, really important shit is happening to Ruby. Because, like, same thing with the herbalist. As soon as Little fell asleep, Ruby was vulnerable again, and that's when she, like, breathed in the herbalist and stuff, like, and Little was asleep that entire time. Like, they're doing something else with Little, and I don't know what, and that is the only thing I can think of, is that it is actually Crescent Rose
Oh, it's
in
so
some
perfect.
way.
Little did wake up during the armorer though.
Yeah,
Did
towards
she?
like the middle. Yeah, she did wake up. Little
Yeah.
did wake up
Oh
during like
yeah,
the second half of it.
Yeah,
yeah.
she
Hold on.
said, "Hey Ruby, I don't think we're supposed to be here," or something like that.
Oh, yep. I just skimmed over to it. Like, yeah. Huh. So Little saw it too. Okay. Man, I don't. Huh. I'm just
You
like
guys are,
I'm just questioning, like, why this armor sequence would have like Summer's weapon and Penny's weapon. Two people who are dead, but like we still don't know what happened to Crescent Rose.
Yeah. Well, I
I
also
mean,
like they're being consistent with everything that's happened so far, and Ruby is still like even before that you could tell she was not okay, and afterwards as well. Like she's as before, she's fucking useless without Crescent Rose, which that's been consistent throughout the whole show. But now she's like panicky about that
Yeah,
and
she's on
everything.
a new level of uselessness.
I forget, have they like not at all hinted at anywhere where it might even be, or like
No, no,
there's
that
That's
like
that's the
like
no.
thing. They haven't.
they've barely even mentioned it. They mentioned it in like I want to say it was episode 2. They gave like a list of things that they have to do, which was like get Yang's arm back, get Crescent Rose, get to the tree, get out of here. Like that was their kind of list of objectives, and they've basically done everything except get Crescent Rose. And remember, at that point, they didn't even know that Jean fell because Jean was the last one to fall. And now they know that he fell, which means that shit be more fucked than they even thought it was. Um, and he's probably going to break the bad news
Oh
that
yeah, I have a
that
feeling
the relics are
there might be
gone
a.
and such.
Oh. Well, that could also explain like all the other, I still feel like they're gonna be like, yeah, no, like none of the civilians made it, or like the Jabberwocky like massacred all the civilians one by one or whatever.
Oh my god, that would be dark. I'd like that.
Oh, well, that could be the thing. Like, they just happened to drop at Dome on Warzone 2, and they got like immediately killed by the guy who opened the box first. I've been playing too much Call of Duty, guys. I'm sorry. It's a good
It's all
game.
right.
Yeah,
And they didn't
there's
win their
also
gulag match.
there's also the theory that the armor might be might be Summer, since Summer's weapon is the only distinctive weapon in these shots, but that could also just be all the other weapons are just accessories for the shot. Like it's not like they're repeated. Like the first shot we see of Summer's weapon, it's right next to two different swords that are like differently designed. So like they did put some effort into the scene aesthetically, but
Yeah.
it's just I like the design. At first it reminded me of the armor from Mandalorian. Uh I think that's because of the voice actress kind of is kind of has that same inflection. But I love the chains that look like braids hanging from her head.
Yeah, her design is awesome.
Yeah, and she's blacksmithing like a butterfly wing, so it's probably she's working on Herb
Yeah,
at that
yeah, she could. Yeah, that could be the case. She
and
could be the one who like fixes the people who fell, and remember that like Ruby's a silver-eyed warrior, and we still don't really know how the silver-eyed warriors came to be or whatever. We just know that they have some kind of connection with the god of light that was shown in volume 6. But there's a lot of holes that they can exploit to fill in some of these questions, which
I
is which is
swear.
one of the things that's making this fun to like talk about and theorize on.
Oh yeah. Oh, I swear if like Alex is like a distant like relative of Ruby, like 10, 12, 20 generations back, like that wouldn't surprise me like in the slightest if that's like the case.
Was that Alex that Ruby saw in the knife?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
yeah,
Does
yeah.
that also
That's
imply that
another thing. Is we
like
do see Alex, which kind of implies to me that Alex is dead.
yeah, that's what I was about to ask. Does that imply Alex is dead? I kind of figured it did.
Wait, which makes sense. The book is seemingly like very old, So who knows how long ago it was written or how old Alex would be if she were still alive. We just know that she must have made it out of this world and back to Remnant and then write about it or wrote about it. Uh, but there's all I saw a theory that because time is all kinds of fucked and stuff, that for the ever after world, Alex didn't come all that long ago, and that Jean is the very same Rusted Knight that she encountered. Which if that's the case, I feel like that will be explained next episode.
Yeah, I feel like if that's the case, that's gonna like come out of the bag pretty quickly.
Yeah, Jean will be like, yeah, a couple weeks ago, I like found another human. I assumed she was from Atlas, but she had no idea what I was talking about, and it was kind of weird. And then she said her name was Alex, which like weirded me out because I remember hearing the story when I was a kid, but then I didn't want to like scare her or anything, so I just let her go.
I just played along and played dumb. Whenever I get close,
Which is
to
very
movies,
easy
they
for
seem to
Jean.
die.
Which is very easy for Jean to do. Let's be
yeah.
real. It would
John,
be very
John could
easy.
play dumb in a heartbeat,
Yeah.
and he's also
Especially
like,
around a female.
yeah. John, the room temperature IQ Giga Chad, whenever he's around women. God, man, if only John just said yes to Pyrrha at that one time in Volume 3, they could have just like lived on the farm and had like 12 kids. God,
That's still like one of the best written scenes of the entire series.
Oh, god damn it, John,
Yeah.
you're so dense. God, all Pyrrha had to do is just grab John by his penis and be like, let's just like go do farm stuff, and yeah, and John will be like, sure, I guess.
I mean, say la vie,
Yeah,
I
that
suppose.
was a well-written missed romance. That was all on purpose, and it made it all better. Unlike other ones that we could talk about.
Yeah. So yeah, we get that scene and Blacksmith, and we see Summer when Summer flashed in the reflection of that axe. I jumped out of my seat. I was like, "Oh my god!" Because the whole time that scene was playing, I was like, "Is that supposed to just be like a hunter weapon?" It looks like it's made out of like reused assets from Crow's weapon. Yeah. I was thinking that they might have done that as like a cost-saving maneuver to add some variety to the scene, but then they kept cutting to. I was like, "What the fuck is up with that?" And then as soon as I thought that, Summer flashed, and it made me jump.
Well, and it was moving towards RWBY too. Like if you notice it, the axe like faces RWBY like slowly throughout the shot too. Like it's moving. Yeah, no.
I can only kind of skim through. I can't watch
it's
it
like
because
subtly,
I'm recording audio.
It's like the equivalent of like like if you're talking to someone and there's someone like sitting like next to the person across the table, like it's like the equivalent of like just turning your body slightly to like look at that person. But the axe does like move, and to me, I still think that whole scene was like all inside of RWBY's head, in my personal opinion. Like something in the ever after, be it a benevolent or a malevolent, or is there even just like an in between of just like benevolent and malevolent? Like something is reaching out to her and like getting inside of her skull.
Yeah, I don't know. Every line from the blacksmith hits pretty hard, and then the scene ends with Summer Silver Eyes flashing, which that seems a little too on the nose to just be the stylistic choice. But yeah, the rest of the gang meets back up with her as if like nothing ever happened, and she doesn't really get a chance to say what was going on because the Jabberwocker strikes, and we get that reveal that like, hey, if the Jabberwocker eats you, you can't ascend. It like keeps you from being able to grow.
Well, that's the other thing too. Whenever John shows up with his jackalope. Also, Coop, I didn't know you did mocap for Rooster Teeth. That's pretty
Uh,
cool.
oh yeah, I'm anytime there's a commission up for anything, I'll usually take it. I'm kind of a mercenary guy in my job locations like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you did good. Kicking that Jabberwocker with your hind legs. We get the implication from some of the dialogue that this isn't John's first rodeo in killing the Jabberwocker. It sounds like he's done it a few times.
He seems very shocked that there's more than one, which technically there's not more than one. These are all that's the other reveal. Like, so, oh god, jumping ahead a little bit, Team RWBY does kill the Jabberwocker, but then it shatters into glass because it's actually just one of Neo's like hard light construction illusion things, and there's a bunch of Jabberwockers. But that makes me think that like either Neo's semblance really evolved to where she can replicate things' abilities, or there's only one Jabberwocker that they really need to worry about, and the rest are just, it's a hat trick.
I think I don't know. It's hard to say. Like they could have like a bit at the end where like that blue owl is like, yeah, I'm alive again. It wasn't a real Jabberwocker, so like it doesn't count or whatever. Um.
Yeah.
Oh man.
There's a lot of creative little background characters. Some of them we saw in prior episodes. There's some people from the auction, and then there's some of the red soldiers again. Uh, there's also the teapot lady. That was fun. Uh, which
I
we'll
don't
we'll
think
we'll
Neo's
get to
gonna.
that. We'll get a little more into
Oh
that.
yeah, there's a good bit there. I don't think Neo's gonna survive this volume.
I don't either. I think her failure to like let go and move on and grow is going to bite her in the end. Um, which looking forward to seeing the fandom fallout from that one.
Ooh, that's gonna be a good one right there. You think people were
Wait,
mad at
say that
Pyrrha?
again. Her
Oh,
failure.
We think that Neo might not survive the end of this volume.
Because what? Her failure to what?
Oh, grow up, basically, move on, get over herself, change.
Yeah, gotcha.
She'll
That would
she'll
be
get the
interesting.
opportunity.
You could just call a truce and be like, look, I just want to punch Cinder in the face, and then you'll never have to see me ever again.
Yeah. So the Jabberwocker attacks and they don't have the Groger ready. Which, by the way, fun name, fun pun. That's a pun that I like.
It's not even that great of a pun, okay? We've had Gogurt for fucking centuries at this point. Ever since
God, I
the
remember that. Oh, I remember that shit growing up in like elementary school. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Look what happened to yogurt.
If you're a 90s kid and you didn't suck down Gogurt like some kind of weird crack fiend, do you even exist? Does such a 90s kid even exist? I doubt it.
I don't like yogurt very much, so I never I have had Gogurt. Obviously, I am a '90s
You
kid.
had it.
I
You're
do
already
exist.
qualified. No,
So
there's no getting out of
but
this.
I wouldn't say I ever scarfed it down like a crack fiend or anything. I just say same thing with like ice cream. Same thing with most cold food things. I can't really wolf it down. I really have to be in the mood for them.
Yeah, but that's because you're from Missouri and your state cannot decide what temperature to be, so ice cream just doesn't make sense there.
True, which is funny because we're the inventors of the waffle cone.
You invented the waffle cone to try and contain the temperature of the ice
Yes,
cream.
that's not far off from what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Little history lesson for you guys. At the 1904 World's Fair, which was in St. Louis, Missouri, uh, the ice cream stand ran out of bowls, and in order to properly distribute the remainder of the ice cream, because no one thought to have enough bowls for all the ice cream that they had, idiots, they decided to make a deal with the waffle stand that was like across the way to like give them some waffles to help like wrap up the ice cream, and then that's how the waffle cone was invented. uh Fun times. 1904 was a good year. We had Taft as president. The Olympics. Anyway, so RWBY like distracts the. Oh, actually, they get to the teapot lady. She's got what they need to finish up the Grogurt recipe. Uh, and uh, they have to like eat it slowly, otherwise they'll turn into giants, I guess. Uh, which uh, there's been so many like fun little fan comics coming from this. Like there's one where Weiss eats more than she should have, so that she's taller than Yang. It's like, what are you talking about? This is my normal height. Uh,
Why stop? Why Slice is like sick? I can no longer be a womanlet anymore.
Sounds less like that sounds like the entryway to some pretty peculiar fetishes. I don't really want to get too deep into that. You can,
Oh, I'm sure it already exists. It's been almost a week since this episode came out. I'm sure someone has already gone down that rabbit hole, or jackalope hole, if you rather.
we don't. We don't disrespect the jackalopes in such a way. I'll have you take that back immediately.
Okay, but the teapot lady like, yeah, there's no time, there's no time, which is I want to say that's a Wonderland reference. The Mad Hatter's Tea Party, where there's no room, no room, even though there's plenty of chairs. Uh, that because that book is weird if you haven't ever read it. Um,
Alice just didn't have enough clout coin to
Yeah.
sit down at that table.
yeah, but she sat down anyway because she's a good character. Um, and Ruby takes her rose pendant that has been part of her character model since the yellow trailer and says, how about this? It holds a mother's promise. That also made me jump out of my chair.
The cat
Yeah, I was
was the
what?
cat. Oh yeah. I'm sorry, dude.
I just like I think I don't know where they're going with that. I really hope they touch on that in the future. I think it's just a sign of like how fucking like lost and out of it and desperate Ruby is right now, which that's why I like that touch. Like I said, they're really going all out with Sad Girl Broken Ruby, which is honestly pretty fantastic still.
Well, and it's making me realize that like one of the things that's happening in this volume is Ruby just getting like not just emotionally torn down, but also physically torn down. Like the rose pendant has been a point of contention within the more critical side of this fandom, uh, because there wasn't a whole lot about that pendant before. But gotta remember that symbol of the rose has been part of this show longer than the shattered moon. The moon was not always shattered in RWBY. That was an idea they had in between making the red trailer and the white trailer. You go back to the original red trailer, the moon is just a moon. But there's that gravestone. The first thing we see in RWBY is Summer's gravestone that says, "Thus kindly I scatter." And it has the rose symbol in it. RWBY
It's
did
still
not.
the gayest ass fucking inscription on a gravestone. Like,
It's a reference to a poem.
yes, still the gayest ass fucking inscription on a gravestone. I wouldn't have somebody put some sort of weird, like, fluffy poetry thing that makes no sense on mine just out of nowhere with no context. Then again, I'd be dead, so who can say?
Well, I think the poem, I'd have to go back and read it, but because there's a bit of that cultural osmosis where someone tells you something and it makes sense, and then you don't verify the information, and so then it just becomes your headcanon. I think that poem is about like your ashes getting scattered,
I mean, it would
which
make
is
sense,
kind
I
of weird to
guess.
put on the gravestone because
Well,
if you're getting
it,
buried, you're not getting scattered.
well, I know the Japanese, they cremate before burial, so that's one
Yeah,
way of going.
saves on room, and also we don't know if Summer is actually buried there. There's actually a good chance that she's not, since she went on a mission and never came back. So that's actually just a marker. And if it wasn't, that's also like just a not good place to have a gravestone, because one particularly strong wave, and part of that will fall into the ocean, and that just be very embarrassing. Um, people
I
don't
mean, it
tend to get
depends
buried
on,
on cliff sides.
well, I mean, it kind of does
The old
depend on like
erosion might
the
get you.
particular cliff. It's more, there's some cliffs where it's okay. Like,
But yeah, we don't know much about Ruby, how Ruby views Summer. We know that Ruby was very young when Summer died, and we've gotten like little teases of information here and there since then. Uh, Not enough for my taste, but I'll take what I can get. And this is kind of forcing Ruby to come to grips with everything that she's lost. Coming to grips with the fact that like she needs to really step up in order to protect her friends, and that she can't like let these sentimental trinkets hold her down, and that she needs to learn how to fight without her weapon, and that she needs to learn how to control her powers, and that like her mom died fighting Salem, the same person that she is ultimately going to fight in this series. And that is just one of those inherently like just good pieces of writing that's just really hard to screw up, and the show hasn't screwed it up yet. So, fingers crossed.
Wait, what's an inherently good aspect of writing?
Just the idea of like this person I look up to died fighting the villain, and now I have to fight the villain. Classic Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
I, I, I suppose I don't really see how exactly like that sort of intermeshes well with throwing away like portions of her thematically. Like,
Yeah, I'm not. It's all there. There's something more there that like it's not connecting yet, but I'm hoping it does.
Well,
Like
again, I think
Ruby's basically going to have to surpass her mother. Like she can't keep visualizing her mother as this person who's so far beyond her, because if she does, then she's just going to end up with the same fate.
well, yes, but I would say that if that is the case, then like th you can't like throw away connection to somebody to surpass them. If you're trying to surpass someone, that in itself is what's probably like the main thing forging the connection between you. And you trying to like not be aware of them and not be aware of what they had going. Like how can you even know you got better than them if you aren't trying to learn more about them and keep hold of all of the stuff that you have information of them on. Like
True.
it's
True,
no,
she
I
might be
agree.
going about this the wrong way.
I don't think that her giving up the rose pendant has anything to do with it. I personally think it's just showing a sign of how desperate and lost and confused and just like how out of it she is. I think it's just that.
that would
Yeah.
work better. I think if she if that was just sort of like a really quick act of desperation so as to get the thing that she needed in the moment, and she didn't really think it through very quickly and realized later that that was kind of that she gets upset about it later, which I think she probably would. Like that's
Yeah.
if you've got like
I
this.
fingers
If you
crossed we
go back,
get some. Fingers crossed we get that scene in the next episode or two. Like, particularly, like I feel like Yang would know more about that symbol and what it means than even Ruby would, and so Yang would be like a good way to like kind of question Ruby about that. It's like, like I feel like Yang would understand like the desperation and stuff, and wouldn't and wouldn't question the decision itself, but she would want to make sure that Ruby is truly okay with that decision and see how she's holding up and stuff. I'd really like a scene like that.
yeah, well, if you go
Oh,
back
yeah.
and look at the scene, she was not like resigned and like angry at her mom or anything like that. It was rushed. You could touch like here, take this. It comes with the mother's promise. Like the way they wrote the scene, the way she acted it out, that's how it came across. So that's why I think it's more just like a sign of her desperation, confusion, how lost she is
Yeah.
and everything. Because the way she gave it away was not like in anger or resignation. It was out of desperation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes more sense. If it had been something like where she was soliloquizing like near a lake or something and threw it in there, then I would say that it would be more like the former idea of what it was supposed to be. But like this, in this scenario, I think that's more the thing. And
Yeah, we'll see, but like it makes me wonder like what exactly, is that mother's promise, or if Ruby was just trying to make something up. Either way, this and what I like about this is that it kind of like retroactively ascribes a sentimental value to this thing that's just been part of Ruby's character model since the, early days of Volume 1.
Yes,
Um
since the dawn of time.
and and I can't be sure because I'm not one of the writers, and I'm sure if you ask the writers, they'll be like, yeah, sure, because this was not, like I said, this was not actually always part of Ruby's character model. Back in the red trailer, she didn't have the rose pendant; she had cross pendants instead. So there was a change that was
based
made in between the
on
red
what
trailer and the
Catholic,
yellow trailer, and with that change comes a reason for that change, and that could be that they, in between making the red trailer and the yellow trailer, when we see Ruby again, that Monty, Miles, and Carrie had this idea for what Ruby's relationship with Summer Rose would actually be like, and so they decided to have the symbol that was on Summer's gravestone be part of Ruby's aesthetic. You guys still with me?
Oh man. Oh man, good stuff. Good stuff this episode right here.
Yeah, like
Oh boy.
I like that, and it's one of those things where like I've seen a lot of people complain like, oh, but this is like out of nowhere. So I'm like, this,
I mean, that was pretty
not
early
not
on.
not not everything needs to be explained before it becomes relevant. The symbolism of this rose medallion, I can't think of a volume where it would have been relevant. Like maybe volume 7, where like she comes face to face with Salem. Salem could have been like, "Oh, I remember that pendant your mother wore," or whatever. Like that's the only way I could think of it
Yeah,
even
your mom had
being
one.
relevant. But in Salem's eyes, like, what would be more important in that conversation is pointing out the silver eyes, and that's what she did. Um, or pointing out the fact that RWBY looks a lot like her mother, which she did, and a couple people have at this point, and it's just, and this is just on my mind because I'm, as I've said on Twitter and stuff, I've been rereading Captain America. I am on Captain America issue 115 or something. I'm in the Stan Lee Jim Steranko era of Captain America now on this read through and note taking of Captain America. Uh they still haven't actually said that Captain America's shield is vibranium where I'm at. That's just something we all assume and that we know because it's just part of the cultural zeitgeist now, and so we go back, and if you look at more updated versions of Captain America's origins, like the movies or Man Out of Time by Mark Waid, it says pretty instantly that Captain America's shield is vibranium. That wasn't actually the case as far as Stan Lee, Joe Simon, Jack Kirby were concerned. It was just a steel shield. It didn't have that extra sentimental value until as early 70s, it looks like, because I'm in late 60s era Captain America, and they still haven't addressed that fact. So things are things are always subject to change, and that change affects the way you reread stuff later on. Going back to the rose pendant, after that tangent, now that we know that this was something that Summer gave RWBY, we are able to go back to those earlier volumes and see it and be like, oh man, I feel it, or whatever the case may be.
I'm not sure whether or not that's it might be something similar there. As far as I know, the entire deal with most of the comic stuff where they say, oh, the shield's made of vibranium, was because he would constantly bounce the shield off stuff, and people would write in back in those days and be like,
Yes.
hey, steel doesn't work like that.
Oh,
and they were
it's fun. Oh, it's fun because that was a Stan Lee thing. Back in the 40s and 50s, Captain America never threw his shield. That was something Stan Lee came up with in technically the 40s when he was writing little novelettes for Captain America magazine. But then when he took over the comics and relaunched Captain America with the Avengers, he's like, and now I'm gonna make him throw the shield all the time, and everyone was like, that's dumb. And so then he wrote in all right, he's got this magnet thing from Tony Stark. And then Jack Kirby was like, I don't like that. So then he took it away, and Stan Lee was like, fine, he's just really fucking good at trigonometry. And then that's basically been the explanation ever since for why he's able to boomerang it the way he does.
Sometimes you just gotta. I mean, I don't think I don't think it's a trigonometry thing. You can
that's how he's able to not. It's able to bounce the way it does because it's made out of vibranium, but the way he's able to actually calculate it and always be there to catch it is because he always knows where it's gonna end up being, because he calculates its flight path or whatever. Captain America's awesome. I like him a lot. That's why I'm trying to reread all of his comics.
Now that I know Captain America is a trigonometry nerd, Captain America sucks. Everybody
Coop is I'll dislike anything that media says just to be an asshole.
Contrarianism is cool.
He is a nerd. He's also an artist. I didn't realize this, but even as far back as 1940s Joe Simon era, he'll be sketching in his notepad while smoking his pipe like a dork.
Is he whenever George Bush was pinning all those pictures of Yakub? That was a really neat art thing
not
they did.
That's not actually far from how it's written in the 60s version. But anyway, back to RWBY. So yeah, they eat the Grogurt, they fight the Jabberwocker, Yang punches it so hard it explodes. That's just how it works, I guess. And then Jean comes riding in with his giant jackalope steed, which that's fun. Um, bunch more Jabberwockers come. They make a run for it. They run to the top. Blake is fangirling over the Rusted Knight because the Rusted Knight is canonically handsome, according to Alex. And so they're all expecting this dashing, handsome hero, and then it's just fucking Jean with the beard and a warrior's wolf tail like he said he wanted in Volume 4.
You shut your mouth, media. John's a stud, and I will not stand anyone on this podcast not saying John isn't a stud.
Oh, he
Well,
looks good.
That's going to be the real test in these upcoming episodes. Is we need to see how it is that a bunch of 21-year-old girls react to a 30-year-old guy. Are they going to be written by the presumably like 47-year-old woman that's writing them that, oh no, they would never be attracted to such a handsome hunk. That's completely disgusting. Or will they
Insert image of Ike of the 21-year-old with the 30-year-old. I consent, and then it's the 35-year-old female. I don't. Sorry.
Or will they be written realistically as girls who like hot guys because they're girls?
Yeah, all we got right now is their shocked expression because they didn't even know Jean was down here with them. Uh, and
Jean fell last, right?
what now?
Did Jean fell last?
Yes. Yeah, because
Okay.
he didn't get knocked off. He fell when the whole like roadway disappeared after Cinder left.
Yeah, whenever
Right.
the magical construct was
That's right.
Yeah,
dissolving.
so he fell when Cinder trapped Watts in the room and lit it on fire. Because that was the thing that happened last volume.
Yeah, talk about a Sigma female move right there. I still feel like that was a bad play on her part.
Oh, absolutely. But
That's-
she's a bitch, so
She's a bitch.
Yeah.
no one ever accused Cinder of not being a cunt.
We frequently
That would be
accuse
even
her of
better
being
if
stupid.
Watts had survived and he's like burned like Scarface, like a Two-Face or whatever.
Nah, I don't think they wanted to keep paying Chris Sabat to salvage their writing. But two details I want to point out with this Jean reveal. The jackalope's name is Juniper, which is adorable because that's his team name, and he's got the warrior's wolf tail that he talked about in Volume 4.
Yeah, and he tied up his wolf tail with Pyra's like ribbon or whatever.
Yep, with Pyrrha's ribbon that he had been wearing on his hip since Volume 4. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
It was on his belt or something. I think
Yeah, it was on. Yeah, he's had it though. And then yeah, his armor and shield and stuff are all rusted. There's a theory floating around that he let it get rusted because he kept on seeing the boy he was, and also kept on seeing Pyrrha's reflection in the bronze parts of his sword and shield. Because in Volume 4 he like fixed up his sword and shield with pieces of Pyrrha's old armor and weapons. So that's a theory floating around. There's a lot of theories floating around about like what Jean's been getting up to in this time, and all of them are acceptable.
See, what I think he's been doing is riding around on a rabbit as a rusted knight.
See,
doing Rusted Knight things, just
I'm
rolling
pretty
around in filth and garbage and being like,
pretty
yeah,
sure he's
this is
been wearing
great.
armor, like probably letting his beard grow out and his hair too.
can't grow a mustache though.
That's fine. As a man who can't grow a full beard, I'm perfectly happy with my mustache. It looks good.
I mean, the mustache is like that's the base. If you can't grow the beard, you can always get like a hardcore stash. You can go any route with it. Confederate Civil War cavalry officer, Magnum PI, uh, certain
Donut
Austrian
operator.
painter that shall not be named.
But no,
Yeah, the
the
mustache is a very versatile facial implement for whatever look you want to achieve.
yeah, I know a lot of the White Knight shippers have been coming out of the woodwork because Jean kind of looks like Nicholas Schnee as he was in freaking Ice Queendom.
Oh,
RWBY
God,
Ice Queendom
Ah,
continues to be more relevant
Ice
to
Queendom
this.
coming out again too. Oh,
Big Nicholas.
Weiss is
gentlemen,
like,
if you're trying to exploit some woman's fetish, always make sure that you make yourself look as much like any sort of father figure she might have had, especially if she didn't have a good relationship with him.
The thing is, historically, that's not actually like wrong. Uh,
I
uh
never am.
God. Uh, so next episode, probably gonna be about Jean. Probably gonna explain some things. Explain like why Neo got the power boost and maybe some sister stuff with Ruby and Yang and explanations on the Rusted Knight.
oh yeah.
And
I,
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
I think yeah, next episode would be good for like John, some Alex related stuff, and like a vignette of like what Neo's been up to. I think that would be a good like episode. And their dialogue seems to be on point too, because it always seems to be like the cat is just like watching the script like a hawk or a cat, and it's like, this is boring, and then like, oh god, the cat was just knocking shit over on that teacups lady's
Oh yeah.
desk. I was like, oh yes, perfect.
Well,
Yeah,
we know that like a lot of the people on the production team have cats, and one of the animators even posted like a picture on Twitter that was like, gotta use reference, and it was her and her cat in like the same pose as one of the shots from this episode. Uh, can't even remember which shot it was. I saw it kind of floating around Twitter when this episode came out. There's no way I'd have the time to actually dig through and find it again. Um, yeah. Oh man. So there's a lot of food for thought. Lot of stuff to kind of chew on. We kind of glanced over this, but Penny's weapon is in the armory too, even though they gave it to the Red Prince. Um, and
I don't know, with like the whole weapon thing, it almost feels like if it it might even work like both ways. It almost feels like kind of what I said earlier, like if Ruby really wants her weapon back right now, like all she has to do is kind of like will it into existence, because that honestly like feels like how the rules would work, like
click our
in
heels
the ever
together three
after.
times, wish for it, or
yeah,
some shit.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'd be satisfied with the power was in you all along
I do think
at this
I,
juncture.
I do think either Tiny being Crescent Rose, or Tiny doesn't lead Team Ruby to like the big tree or whatever. She just leads Ruby to Crescent Rose. I think that would be like a good way to like pay off like that character.
Yeah, well,
It's like
let's see.
I'm her
We're
guy.
halfway through the volume now, so
Oh yeah, we're at 50%.
yeah. So
I mean,
there's
whatever
plenty of room
happens.
for bullshit.
maybe she won't get Crescent Rose back until the end episode of the volume,
Yeah.
or something, or maybe she gets it back and it's like, nah, fuck you, and then it just gets like full on busted up for real, and she doesn't
Yeah.
have it again.
It's like
And they,
Rio's just holding it, just breaks it in her hand, and it's like it just lets it scatter to the ground.
yeah, and then right as she's about to get like mega dead, she somehow gets like an even better Ultra Crescent Rose thing instead, or something. I don't know.
Super Saiyan Crescent Rose.
Yeah, something along those lines. Who knows? I'm spitballing here.
Yeah, maybe an upgrade or some kind of reforge, or maybe she
Or
starts
she
using
thinks
the
her
war
mom
scythe lore
will-
more.
Yeah, like maybe she just gets like a regular gun. That would be better.
Yeah, most things would be better than a giant cumbersome scythe. Um, so are we ready for questions? Got quite a few of
Yep.
those.
Yeah, send them.
Oh,
All right, because yeah, like this episode kind of ends in a cliffhanger. Like they're still in the same town. They're up top on the giant lotus flower, and yeah, the Jabberwocker's still kind of like running rampant. So maybe next episode we might get an action scene as well. I don't know. I really don't know. So questions. First question: a stereotypical gamer asked, "Does this mean Remnant has no concept of reincarnation?" They do. It's just that their concept of reincarnation is wrong because their concept of reincarnation is Ozpin, which isn't reincarnation.
it's like
Creepy. That's what it is.
it's basically like ghostly possession of a spirit.
Yeah, you need to find a priest for that sort of possession. I would even dare say you should probably call in the Spanish Inquisition.
Not even Ozpin would expect the Spanish Inquisition.
He doesn't expect a lot. Let's be real honest.
But
Here,
what he needs
Yeah.
to be expecting is Child
So-
Protective Services.
One of the
From all
better
of his
parts
bastard kids.
One of the better parts about this volume is that we don't have Ozpin/Oscar.
Oh yeah, that we've been saying that since the beginning. Thor G1058 asked, between Ruby being left alone in the shop, her team being angry with her for not getting the ingredient yet, and no one saying anything when she just gave away the emblem from her mother, why do you think Weiss, Blake, and Yang are so oblivious to Ruby clearly struggling emotionally? Because they don't know. They didn't see what she saw at the herbalist place, and they didn't see what she saw with the forge or whatever. They think she just kind of got lost or whatever. Like they didn't see her just standing there, assuming that she was just standing there. Like we don't know what all they know, and there hasn't been a whole lot of time because they've been kind of like go since the Jabberwocker showed up.
Yeah, like Ruby hasn't like fell over and like rolled into a ball and just like yelled fuck.
Yeah, and they know she's useless without Crescent Rose already, so it's not going to feel all that different to them when they also have to fight and do crazy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
every time she's been disarmed, she's been extraordinarily pathetically weak the entire time.
Like way weaker than she actually should be. Like, I know we've said this before, but like if you're able to lift a weapon like Crescent Rose and swing it around the way she does, her punches should like hit like a car.
Well, I mean, we don't know how much Crescent Rose weighs exactly.
We
Like,
know it weighs more than a knife. And that's all that matters. But yeah, like we don't know how much the rest of the team knows, and there hasn't been that moment yet. And now I think High Power's onto something. I think this volume would be a really good opportunity to have Ruby curse for the first and possibly only time. Rob Crow 85 asked, "What are your thoughts on what happened to Jean? It must have been a fairy tale connected to time in some way." The theory, there's theories going around about like maybe he got sent back in time, or maybe he was aged up, or this has something to do with the herbalist, or some other like
his
potion
mental
thing.
baggage manifesting him being really old. Like, we won't really know until the next episode.
Yeah, we won't know until he like kind of says what happened in his perspective, because the obvious answer is that he just fell through time and that time is just wonky in this world. That's the simplest explanation, but there could also be like a story there where like, maybe he ate a age fruit, or like his own, like some kind of like time dilation version of Grogurt or something. It could be any number of things, really.
God, imagine having to do like 20 years of back taxes. That's like a personal hell right there.
Yeah, it would be weird. Well, I mean, I don't know if that amount of time hasn't passed on the outside. Then again, if time gets weird, we might actually wind up with the time skip whenever they get back to the actual world. Like, I really don't think that they should do, but they might.
Yeah, I mean, as far as them returning to the normal world, the more like practical, I think, version of that would be if no time passed in Remnant. If they just kind of like fall through the port, like I think that's more likely than a considerable amount of time passing in between volumes.
Yeah, I would argue the most practically for the next volume is like a week or a month at the most.
Yeah, like once you start opening up like unparalleled time, all bets are kind of off. Crystal Tiger 17 asked, "If Little were to go with Team RWBY to Remnant, do you think they would still be a mouse that talks, a regular mouse, or become a mouse faunus?" I don't think Little is going with them to Remnant, but I like the theory of Little becoming a mouse faunus, because that opens up some implications about the faunus and their origins being connected to the ever after in a way that humans aren't.
Oh god, that would be good. Hold up a second, Media. You need to pass me the crack pipe back again real quick.
It's not crack.
Thanks, Media.
It's not crack. It's sleep deprivation.
Thanks, Media.
But no, like I like that thing. I didn't even think about that until this is one of the reasons why I like the question segment of these podcasts, because I didn't think about that. I didn't think about the possibility that this could be where faunus come from originally, and that they like fell into Remnant sometime after the first humanity 1.0 was wiped out.
Yeah, they haven't found that copy of the Dead Sea Scrolls yet, or like the Rosetta Stone, or yeah.
Exalted Sun asked, "If this is Jean's swan song, do you think he'll get a Vorpal blade, or has his time pretty much come and gone?" I want to clarify that he has got to be at least 40, as he has the RWBY maturity wrinkles that you see on the likes of Callie and Raven. I don't think he's done. Like this, if he comes back to Remnant with them and is old, then he just turned into one of the adult characters. And there's also the possibility that this gets undone. I hope it doesn't get undone. I think keeping him as like this 40-year-old virgin is the more bolder, interesting, creative choice. And then ship him with like, I don't know, the Willow Sneed or something. That's a fan art I saw, by
no,
the
no,
way.
no. Ship him. No, no, no. I know the perfect target. We mentioned this in the while we were pre-gaming. Ship him with Winter if he stays that old.
Winter's like half his age now.
Or John just goes back to that one place that was named after like a Diablo city or a Warcraft city and just like bangs out all the MILFs and has like 30 bastard like kids.
Oh yeah, remember all the MILFs already like John, so his game is like up now. He's got better odds of getting laid in Remnant now than he ever has.
Oh yeah, John's primo fucking
Well,
John's a primo like breeding stud just walking around right now.
well, does he have better game with the MILFs now that he's aged, or were they into the old Shota stuff? Was that what they were trying to get
Ooh,
after?
ooh, that's some
That's
drama. That's grounds for a fan fiction right there.
that's terrible grounds. Don't use it.
Just like the fan fiction of how Crow is actually Weiss's dad. God, I love that art. God, I love that artist. I think he was on the Discord for a short period
Yeah,
of time
he
too.
was. He might still be, but he doesn't post there at all. Um, yeah. So, Quiet messaged asked, "Does ever after surviving this volume with how much damage Neo is already doing?" That's also, I feel like for the catharsis of it, that they will defeat the Jabberwocker and save this, and that'll be like their pregame to how they end up defeating Salem. But who knows? I certainly don't.
They just get the Jabberwocker to eat Salem. Oh, damn it! I was gonna make a joke
Oh,
too about the question of being like, "Sorry, media, can you repeat that? I didn't hear you," because the person's name was quiet, and then just
oh.
like go on that for a bit. I totally missed it.
You'll get a chance next week. He's a frequent commenter on my channel. Um, so also a frequent commenter, Rick Sarts asked, with the rules of Ascension, do you think the aged up Jean will go through that at the end? If they want him to be young again. That's that's an if. That's an
That's an
if.
option. That's an option on the table.
The Z Killer. Oh, yeah, you got another thought on
Oh
that?
no! Keep going. I think because I already
Okay.
mentioned too, like he could always just whenever they go back to Remnant, he's just like, "Oh, I'm back to being like 19 through 21 again. Cool."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also a possibility. They
Yeah,
could just
that's a Narnia thing. That happened in the Chronicles of Narnia, at least Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe. Um
oh God, imagine that. Imagine being like a buffed up Chad who's spent like 20 years doing nothing but fighting evil and getting ripped and being hot and having every girl fall for you, only to have to go back to being some like kid. God, that's terrible. Oh man. C.S. Lewis really tortured those children.
he he did actually. That book series is a wild. Um The Z Killer asked thoughts on Neo semblance evolution, granting her clones the ability of those they transform into, or at least a mind of their own. Because the Jabberwocker was speaking, we know Neo is mute, so I expect to see a Roman speaking next episode at least. That's always been on the table. You know, that with both her and Emerald being like two different brands of illusionist, the possibility of her creating like Roman illusions or Pyrrha illusions or Penny illusions now, or like Ruby illusions, or like whatever, in order to screw with Team Ruby. That's basically all she has going for her. Like, yes, she's pretty powerful. She would have absolutely mopped the floor with Ruby in the group when the group was still tiny. Uh, but I don't think that in just a straight up brawl she can take all four of them, or even all three of them, assuming that Ruby sits it out. Um, or all
I
four
don't
of them,
know.
assuming that Jean gets in on the action and Ruby sits it out. Like
I don't know.
I just
I've
don't
seen
I
a
just
few
don't see it.
I've seen a few
RWBY sets it out.
dojos where Neo takes all 4 of them at the same time. Oh wait a minute, no, that's different.
Yeah, well,
Speaking of semblances evolving, have you noticed that this episode how just Yang was just able to like use her Super Saiyan powers without like, having to get beat up?
I
I don't know
feel
if
like
that was
she
just,
was. I
that might
feel
have
like
just
she
been a
was able to do.
stylistic choice.
I feel like she was able to do that a little bit in like Volume 8 as well. But I'm not sure. I feel like that's not the first time we've seen her do
It
something
could have
like
just
that.
been, it could just be a stylistic choice too, which I mean that
Yeah.
also works.
I mean, I just don't have the time to rewatch every single fucking Yang fight that's been in the series.
I would say that they either didn't get it right or they got it just slightly right enough to where somebody would just point some weird esoteric detail out and be like, ah, you missed that. She actually did get slightly punched that one time. She had enough kinetic energy stored up to ignite her fire mode thing.
Yeah, like that. That's always a possibility or whatever. Oh, something we didn't mention about that fight is that some of the Grogurt splashes onto Jabberwocker's face and he gets really big too. That was fun. So then, which question am I on? Okay. Crash Bash asked, "Do you think that time will be different once RWBY and Jean return to Remnant?" I feel like this question was already asked before. He also asks, "Will they find Penny's body there as well?" That's a possibility. I'm hedging my bets on that when Penny's dead body and the other people like they kind of fell to their death and maybe like became some of the citizens or whatever.
Hold up a second, media.
But
Tiny is Penny.
How?
Man, I felt like my Crescent Rose theory was a stretch, but that seems like even more of a stretch since Penny herself died.
That is true.
I am more accepting of an inanimate object becoming an animate object than a dead body becoming a live body.
Well, hold up. If, like, the weird thing you said about, like, maybe Ruby's mom having been the Smith woman thing is also the thing, when this whole area is actually Remnant's afterlife, then perhaps the small little rat is actually Penny as a small little rat.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see the connection there, but who knows? Maybe. I don't know.
It's probably not. It's probably just a small little rat.
Yeah.
An adorable small little rat. Next question.
CB Henson asked, with an age dub Jean, what do you think the odds are of us actually getting a proper Jean versus Cinder fight? Between 0 and 1. I don't think that's Jean's fight to win. I think he shot his shot and he got his ass kicked. And when it comes time to taking Cinder down, we're gonna need more than the Rusted Knight. We're gonna need someone like all of Team RWBY. Or maybe like a RWBY Jean combo.
Oh god, that would be so perfect if Lancaster, right, gets confirmed as the ship. Oh man.
This right now that's weird. Right now Lancaster is weird, and so is White Knight, honestly. White Knight's just funnier now because of all the Daddy Ironwood jokes from prior volumes. And Weiss's internalized daddy issues, which are very well documented. RWBY doesn't have that, so shipping her with Jean at this point isn't as stupidly funny. It's just weird. But I mean, if this does get undone and Jean does becomes 17 again or 19 again or however old he is, then sure. But as far as the Jean versus Cinder fight, I don't think that's ever gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see what exactly it is that's stopping them from doing it.
It wouldn't be a bad way to kill John, like, like if they're doing like a tag team fight and John, like, takes one of them, like crit arrows and just gets fucking disintegrated, wouldn't be a bad way to go.
See, I feel like the thing is that, like, assuming they haven't altered stuff up enough, I don't know. I don't know that they would be. I don't know that they would really do it either, because I'm not sure what exactly they want to squeeze out of Cinder precisely. They do try to milk her in weird ways that never work,
Lol.
and like it's them having like her kill Jean or Jean kill her. I don't see her. I don't really see what exactly they'd get out of it. Like either way, really, at this point, because honestly, like what even is Cinder at this point? Like she kind of like
She's the dragon trope.
not even that. Like at least that has like usually good reasons behind it and stuff. Like the what treasure does Cinder got? Like what's
No,
like
I mean the dragon as far as the sorcerer and the dragon duo.
what are you talking about?
She's the Darth Vader to Salem's Palpatine, the Ace to Salem's Queen from that one Skyhawk show. There's a trope called the dragon where like you'll have a villain duo where one of them is called the Wizard and they're the ones who like are super powerful but spend most of their time in the castle, and their like right hand is called the dragon, and they're the ones who actually like have the somewhat emotional connection to the hero and do a lot more of the action stuff.
And let me ask you this: are the people who came up with this aware that there's words like lieutenant, sub commander, subaltern, stuff like
I
that?
think this trope might actually predate the English language.
Uh, Considering that dragon is part of the English language, I doubt it.
I
But
don't know.
All right. Next question.
No. By seeing some, this is from Dragonfly. By seeing Summer in that reflection, do you think that they are going to do a flashback with her, or is it an illusion as RWBY believes that she got turned into the Grim Monster? She doesn't believe that Summer got turned into the Grim Monster. There's just that possibility, and like the two aren't mutually exclusive. If Salem turned Summer into a Grim Monster, that would still mean that she's effectively dead, and therefore her ghost or whatever and her weapon could be in this weird esoteric realm that is within esoteric realm. Like the whole thing with the Forge is that it's the ever after to the ever afters ever after. Like it's a realm even more weird and esoteric than the ever after, which is already a weird and esoteric realm within like the wider world of Remnant, which is already a weird and esoteric realm even by
So
itself.
what you're saying, media, is Sphere Cucks BTFO, we Layer Cake Hollow Flat Earth Gang.
Sure, why not?
Layer Cake, Hollow Flat Earth, Agartha, Hyperborea, Atlantis Gang, Rise Up, Triangle Earth 2, probably.
The world has a shape, and it looks like Dio's stand. So yeah, like the various possibilities aren't mutually exclusive, but the grid monster we saw in that was Volume 8, right? Yeah, that was Volume 8. Was definitely not Summer. Like, that was definitely a dude.
He was some guy, for
Yeah,
sure.
who
Some
had silver
guy.
eyes. Yeah. So, Cyber King asked, do you think Jean is making it out of the Ever After alive, and would you want him to or not? I don't care where they're going with that. But the fact that they have something in store, like I feel like I would be okay with anything that happens to Jean at this point. Like they already paid off the kind of catharsis of him even being down here at all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I
hoping
don't.
they're doing a good enough job that like I'm open to the possibilities. Hopefully, it's well done. I don't really care whether or not he dies. To be honest, I think they could do it well either way. You know, if he does die, does it signal death flags for Ren and Nora more? Yes.
Maybe he just decides to stay down there. Maybe he doesn't die. Maybe he's just like, yeah, I ain't going back. Fuck that place.
Yeah, I like it down here. It's cool.
I get to
So
have a giant rabbit I ride
He
around.
go he goes he goes native. That's honestly not a bad option too if they want to like take another character off the list. Like, oh, I'm always gonna have to be fighting Neo.
I don't know. I don't think that would work thematically, though. I feel like that completely breaks with their whole motto of keep moving forward. I think that makes him.
yeah,
I don't think they'll do that. That's the one thing
if
I don't think.
if this volume was more about Jean, I could see them doing that. Kind of have the Samurai Jack setup where like he has several opportunities to return home but doesn't because he'd rather just stay behind and protect his newfound friends like Juniper and the cats and the people of the ever after. But even then you have season 5 of Samurai Jack where he just kind of abandons all that and goes back in time anyway, and luckily it works out because the multiverse theory or whatever. God, season 5 of Samurai Jack was a big disappointment.
Primal was cool though, so fuck you, I guess.
I did not watch Primal.
You should watch Primal.
I
It's pretty.
should. It's got
Yeah,
dinosaurs in it, but it's got like old style 50 style dinosaurs, which is a choice. Um,
it's the right choice. Okay, putting feathers on giant death lizards was stupid. The-
as someone who is more scared of birds than reptiles, I actually like feathers on dinosaurs.
Ah, yes, more scared of birds because they can fly, as opposed to reptiles that have jaws specifically
Hold on,
designed to tear
Coop,
your flesh
do
from your
Coop,
body.
Coop, do you not know about my traumatic experience?
You did tell me about your traumatic
Okay,
experience.
okay. So then you know why I'm like terrified of birds.
Yes, I know.
Could I
It's
suggest
still
you
dumb.
a shotgun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we got any other
Oh.
questions?
We got one more. Yellow Turkey asked thoughts on Summer's weapon being shown. What do you think the importance of that might be? We kind of already got into that.
Oh yeah,
We don't really
we covered
know.
it.
Like, we don't even really know what that scene was within the context of the show. We have to kind of like wait and see. But the prevailing theory is that when Summer fought Salem, she got like murked and her like soul or whatever fell into the ever after, and when presented with like the choice to change, she decided to set down her axe and pick up a hammer to help like whatever this world's version of God is reforge and fix people and help them like reincarnate. Which is a pretty neat afterlife gig, not gonna lie.
I mean, yeah, that's one way of going about doing it, I suppose.
Yeah. So that's it for questions. Anyone got any other thoughts? Dude had to dip because he has a life.
He's got like family shit he's got to
Yeah.
do, like us filthy fucking single men in our
Yeah.
30s. Fuck.
Not quite
God
there.
damn it.
I'm not 30 yet. I still got a few months.
Where's my gun? It would look really good in my mouth right now.
Speaking of which, media, you've got the best chance. If you just go a little bit longer, you could get full wizard powers. If you just make it to 30.
Or you could use all of your internet clout that you slowly build up and parlay that into a girlfriend. You maybe could find some chick that's like really into your book series and be like, "Hey, I want to have sex with you," and then you'll be like, "All right."
Which is it going to be that you grab hold of? Boobs or an orb? That's your real choice.
I mean, man, man, that's hmm. Um. So, yeah, I have a book now. The Hellfire Brats, available now on Amazon with Book 2, The Nephilim Strain, coming this summer. I also have a Substack and a Twitter. Join the Discord. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you next time on the RWBY Podcast. Anyone else got anything to plug before we call it a night?
I
Nah.
promise I will read the book, and Media and I will do a one-on-one interview, and it will be super terrible but fun at the same time.
Oh, yeah, I want to talk more about my book. Like, I actually
Maybe we
have
should do a
have
podcast
something.
about your book to promote your book.
I mean,
Maybe
I
that's
did that. I did the unboxing video when I got my advanced copies. Um, but no, when I have book 2 in the pipeline, when I'm done editing that and send it into the publisher, I actually do have someone lined up that I'm gonna send a copy of both my books to, and they got a YouTube channel where they interview like indie authors, and they'll like we've already been in contact.
You should just mail a copy up to like Razor Fist if he has a PO box to send shit to.
He doesn't, and he's not doing that. But it is people related to like the Iron Age media stuff. That I've talked to. But yeah, look forward to all that, and we will catch you next time. Thanks for watching.